If you had to build one of the richest countries on Earth, where would you start? Oil, gold, a massive coastline, millions of workers, maybe endless farmland. Those would all be good choices. Switzerland got none of them. No oil, no gold rush, no access to the sea, no empire that conquered half the world. Just a small, mountainous country sitting in the middle of Europe. If history were a game of Monopoly, Switzerland would have started with one of the worst hands on the board. And yet, today it has one of the strongest currencies in the world, some of the highest salaries on Earth, a passport that opens almost every door, companies trusted across the globe, and an economy that countries many times its size still struggle to match. It shouldn't make sense. So why does it? The world makes more sense once you know where to look. Let's understand why. Most people think they already know the answer. Swiss banks, secret accounts, rich billionaires. Except that's not what made Switzerland wealthy. In fact, if banking disappeared tomorrow, Switzerland would still be one of the most competitive economies on the planet. So what actually happened? How did a country with almost every geographic disadvantage manage to outperform nations blessed with oceans, oil, vast farmland, and enormous populations? The answer isn't one lucky decision. It's a chain of decisions made over centuries. Decisions that quietly transformed one of Europe's least promising landscapes into one of its greatest success stories. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Switzerland became one of the richest countries on Earth. But more importantly, you'll understand a lesson about wealth that almost every nation and almost every person gets wrong. Because Switzerland's greatest natural resource was never natural at all. To understand why Switzerland became rich, we first have to understand why. By every logical measure, it should have stayed poor. To understand why Switzerland became rich, we first have to forget everything we know about the Switzerland of today. Forget the luxury watches, forget the banks, forget the spotless trains and postcard-perfect cities. Because for most of its history, Switzerland looked like the kind of place people passed through, not the kind of place they built empires. Here's a rule that has shaped almost every civilization in history. Geography usually decides who gets rich. Look at the world's great powers. Britain had the sea, Egypt had the Nile. China had enormous fertile plains. America had vast natural resources, navigable rivers, and 2 oceans protecting it from invasion. Again and again, history rewarded countries that were easy to trade with, easy to farm, or blessed with valuable resources hidden beneath the ground. If you had those advantages, you started the race several laps ahead of everyone else. Switzerland didn't. In fact, it started behind almost everyone. Nearly 2/3 of the country is covered by the Alps. Beautiful, absolutely. Practical, not even close. Towering mountains divided communities from one another. Travel was slow, building roads was difficult, moving goods was expensive, and for centuries, those mountains acted less like a tourist attraction and more like a giant wall standing between Switzerland and opportunity. Then there was the coastline, or rather, the complete lack of one. Switzerland is entirely landlocked, no ports, no harbours, no direct access to global shipping routes. At a time when maritime trade was making cities like London, Amsterdam, Lisbon, and Venice incredibly wealthy, Switzerland was watching from behind a wall of mountains. It also lacked another advantage that transformed countless economies: natural resources. There were no giant oil fields waiting to be discovered, no vast coal reserves to power an industrial revolution, No gold rush that attracted millions of fortune seekers. No endless fertile plains capable of feeding a massive population. Even its population remained relatively small, meaning fewer workers, smaller domestic markets, and less political influence than many of its neighbors. On paper, none of this looked promising. If you were an investor a few hundred years ago, Switzerland probably wouldn't have made your shortlist. You would have chosen France, or Britain, or Spain, maybe even Austria. Almost anywhere else looked like the safer bet. And yet, today, people from around the world trust Swiss products, Swiss companies, Swiss institutions, and the Swiss franc. So somewhere along the way, this small country stopped playing by the normal rules. It found another path, one that had nothing to do with oil, or oceans, or luck, and everything to do with a series of decisions that most of the world never noticed, because Switzerland's greatest advantage wasn't something it discovered, it was something it deliberately built. And that story starts with a decision that almost every powerful nation refused to make. So, what changed? If Switzerland wasn't blessed by geography, and it wasn't rescued by natural resources, how did it rewrite its future? The answer begins with a decision that, at the time, probably didn't look very extraordinary. Instead of trying to become Europe's most powerful country, Switzerland chose something far less glamorous. It chose stability. For centuries, Europe was caught in an almost endless cycle of wars. Kingdoms expanded, empires collapsed, borders shifted, entire cities were reduced to rubble. Every generation seemed to inherit another conflict. But Switzerland gradually followed a different path. It embraced neutrality. Not because it made dramatic headlines, but because stability turned out to be one of the most valuable economic assets a country could possess. While factories in other nations were destroyed, Swiss businesses kept operating. While governments changed overnight elsewhere, Swiss institutions remained predictable. And when investors had to decide where to store their money or where to build for the future, predictability became priceless. Trust rarely appears overnight. It grows slowly, one stable year at a time. But stability alone doesn't make a country rich. Switzerland still faced the same problem it always had. It had very little to sell. No oil, no gold, no endless fields of wheat. So it asked a different question. If we can't compete with quantity, how do we become impossible to replace? The answer was quality. Swiss craftsmen became obsessed with precision. Tiny imperfections mattered. Machines became more accurate. Tools became more reliable. Watchmakers perfected movements measured in fractions of a second. Engineers built products that customers trusted without hesitation. Over time, Made in Switzerland stopped describing a location. It became a reputation, a promise. People were willing to pay more because they expected more. But exceptional products don't appear by accident. They come from exceptional people. So Switzerland made another long-term investment. Education. Instead of treating education as an expense, it treated it as infrastructure. Its apprenticeship system allowed young people to master practical skills while working alongside experienced professionals. Universities focused on research, engineering, medicine, and science. Companies worked closely with schools. Ideas moved quickly from classrooms to laboratories to factories. Little by little, the country's most valuable resource wasn't buried underground. It was walking into work every morning. Highly skilled people became Switzerland's greatest export. By now, something remarkable had happened. The world no longer trusted Switzerland because it was neutral. It trusted Switzerland because everything it produced seemed dependable. Its watches, its medicines, its machines, its engineering, its workforce, its institutions. Trust became the country's invisible currency. And once that reputation existed, an entirely new industry found the perfect home. Banking. This is where many people get the story backwards. They imagined secret bank accounts made Switzerland rich. In reality, Switzerland became a banking powerhouse because it was already trusted. If your country has a reputation for political stability, reliable laws, independent institutions, and careful financial management, people naturally feel safer keeping their money there. Banking wasn't the foundation of Switzerland's success. It was the multiplier. It accelerated a reputation that had been built over generations. By the late 20th century, Switzerland wasn't competing by being the biggest. It was competing by being the most trusted. And in a world where trust is incredibly difficult to earn, that turned out to be one of the most valuable resources any nation could possess, which raises an even bigger question. If Switzerland became wealthy without relying on natural resources, why do so many resource-rich countries continue to struggle? Because that's where the biggest lesson of this story begins. By now, the answer probably seems obvious. Switzerland became rich because of neutrality, because of banking, because of precision engineering, because of education, because of trust, and all of those are true. But they're not the real lesson. The real lesson is that Switzerland stopped playing a game it could never win. It never tried to outproduce America. It never tried to outfarm Ukraine. It never tried to outmanufacture China. It never tried to outmine Australia. Instead, it asked a far more powerful question. What can we become the best in the world at? That single shift in thinking changed everything. Instead of chasing abundance, Switzerland built excellence. Instead of depending on natural resources, it invested in human resources. Instead of trying to be the biggest, it became one of the most trusted. And in the modern economy, trust is often more valuable than oil. Think about it. Would you rather leave $1 billion in a country known for political instability, or in one where contracts are respected, laws rarely change overnight, and institutions have earned confidence over generations? Would you rather buy the cheapest medical equipment, or the equipment with a reputation for never failing when lives depend on it? Would you rather wear a watch because it's expensive, or because you believe it represents craftsmanship that has been refined for centuries? That's the invisible economy, the one built on reputation, the one that's almost impossible to measure, yet incredibly difficult to replace. For generations, the world believed that wealth was something you discovered. Gold beneath the ground, oil beneath the desert, diamonds beneath the soil. Switzerland proved that another kind of wealth exists, the kind that isn't inherited, but built. Built through stable institutions, built through education, built through consistency, built through trust. And perhaps that's why this tiny country, hidden among the Alps, continues to outperform nations blessed with advantages it never had. Because in the end, the most valuable resource wasn't buried beneath Switzerland. It was created above it, in its schools, its workshops, its laboratories, its businesses, and in the quiet reputation it spent centuries earning. So the next time someone tells you that success is determined by what you start with, remember Switzerland, a country with no coastline, no oil, no gold rush, no empire, yet somehow it built one of the richest societies on earth. Not by changing its geography, but by changing the rules of the game. The world makes more sense once you know where to look.